Hi everyone, I'm going to start off today by talking about the outer ear or the pinna. A few of the landmarks I'm going to point out are going to be relevant later on when I talk about microtia, which is something that may occur when the outer ear has some deformities. The bottom of the ear is the lobe. Also in this area we have our tragus and antitragus, which kind of mirror each other as projections on the lower ear. The tragus is a little bit more anteriorly positioned in relevance to the antitragus. Now the top of the ear or the upper ear is formed by the helix and the antihelix with the scapha as a kind of depression between those two projections on the outer ear. The scapha also kind of wraps around towards the front of the ear and forms a triangular fossa, which is the little triangular area between the Y-shaped of the antihelix. One of the problems that can occur with your outer ear or your pinna is something called microtia. And microtia is simply just a congenital deformity affecting the outer ear or the pinna. As highlighted by these four grades, it can differ in the severity. Grade 1 just simply being a smaller ear, grade 2 usually with a lobe intact, but the antihelix and the helix kind of morph into one piece of cartilage. Grade 3 is just a presence of skin and cartilage, and it's sometimes called a little ear. And then grade 4 is the complete absence of the external ear. There's also something called atresia, where your auditory canal, your external auditory canal, can be malformed and can be completely covered as well. There are a few approaches that people look at when um, reaching a diagnosis of microtia and or atresia. I use this image to show Nemo's little fin because some people do just choose to go the acceptance route. Since it is a physical deformity, there are some options for making your ear look more typical. One of those is surgery, and people do surgery for various different reasons, not only to make the ear appear more typical, but also if the patient needs glasses, it makes them easier to wear, or if they need some type of hearing aid, it might be easier to wear if it has a typical formed ear. Um, so when you go for surgery, there are a few different styles, and depending on which you go for, the frame of the ear may be formed either from cartilage from your rib or just from a plastic installed piece that kind of mimics a human ear. If you do have atresia and your external auditory canal is completely concealed, you might go for a bone conduction hearing aid, which would kind of make use of what you already have, or you could go for surgery to create a faux external auditory canal and be able to amplify that way. Next, I'm going to talk a little bit more about what happens if your baby is born with microtia and or atresia and kind of the next steps of what you might follow regarding that diagnosis. So initially at birth, they may require a renal ultrasound and an EKG to check out the kidneys and the heart development since all three, the ear, kidneys, and heart all develop in the first trimester around the same time. So they want to make sure all of those things have developed correctly. Next, also while you're still in the hospital after the diagnosis at birth, they want to conduct a newborn hearing test. They do it in both ears and it's kind of a pass-fail. So if one ear fails, you are then referred to an audiologist for further testing and to kind of see how much hearing loss we're looking at. Here's an example of the rib graft surgery just before and after. You can see how natural it is. And then next we're going to be seeing the prosthetic option. So prosthetics can be extremely realistic. They're often made of silicone and dyed and painted to match the skin. And you can see the before and after that this is a great option for someone who might not be interested in surgery but still wants that typical looking ear. And you can even have the prosthetic if you don't have an external auditory canal. It can be purely for appearance. To end out this video, I'm just going to talk really quickly about some fun aspects of microtia and talk about reasons why you should embrace your microtia if you're comfortable with your little ear. Paul Stanley actually had microtia of his right ear, which is something that most people don't know. He was almost completely deaf in his right ear and still had a great music career. And lastly, here are some amazing animals with unilateral microtia, a dog, cow, and elephant. I loved learning about microtia and deformities of the outer ear. I really learned a lot about the little ear community, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks.